Maria, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am doing great. Where are you right now? Where are you based out of?
I am in LA. I just moved here like a month and a half ago, so
Wow.
quite new, but yeah, where I live now.
That's crazy because you've been in Queens like your whole life.
Yep, very big change, not gonna lie.
Damn, that's wild. Something I like to just kick off interviews with is like, what have you been doing during quarantine? Like, this is a weird time for everyone. How are you staying busy? Like, what's going
Great
on?
question. Like, also, this question's weird now because quarantine used to feel so short, and now it's been like the whole year. So, like, how am I keeping myself entertained has really evolved, I feel like, over the 8 months. Because, like, I feel like at first it was like charming that we all got kind of like a little break from everything we had to do. So I was just like binge watching TV and like watching movies that have been on my list forever. Um, and then I had to get productive eventually. So actually, I finished the EP in quarantine. So that was quite nice to be able to just like hunker down and stay in the studio for a while and be able to finish recording vocals and everything. And then just, you know, getting back to the studio. So trying to stay busy with that. And then in the rest of the time, honestly, just trying to spend as much time outside as I possibly can. Um, because being inside four walls definitely gets exhausting.
Yeah, definitely. And that sounds very productive to me. I mean, writing, finishing, completing an album, like, I didn't come anything close to that. So,
No,
hats off to
it's
you.
not bad.
Yeah.
I'm proud.
So kicking it off with like a fun question. I was going through your Twitter the other day and I noticed every few weeks you profess your love to Rihanna. Can you talk about your like her influence on you or like your
Wait,
passion?
that's so funny because I tweeted it last night and I was like, is Twitter gonna like stop me from tweeting this because I've already posted it like 5 times? That's so funny. Um, yes, my love for her. She is incredible. Like I am truly in awe of her. I cannot wait till the day we're in the same room. I don't know that I'll be able to like say anything or, but I just like need to be in her presence. I just think her like I mean besides just like her as a human being, which is just amazing in and of itself, um her music career is one that I like definitely aspire to kind of follow in because I feel like she's done such a great job of like staying true to herself, but still every album feels like a different like piece of her life. And like I feel like we've grown with her from like like Ponder Replay being on the radio to like the last album, which is incredible. Um, yeah, just like truly trying to do what she does.
That's really cool. I mean, yeah, I totally get what you were saying about how she changes with each album and obviously Anti was one of the my favorite albums of 2016.
Ever.
It's still being listened to today. And I mean, I guess like when it comes down to it, if she drops R9, we can thank you for that because I feel like you're just gently poking her, prodding her to drop the album.
Yeah, it's funny because like I know that there are people in her comments every day like, hello, we're waiting. And now that I've put out music and like just after putting out the EP, I immediately started getting DMs that were like, okay, where's the rest of it? And I was like, wait, like guys, I just gave you music. I was like, okay, I can see how this is like aggressive to say to someone. So I'm like, I just want to like remind her that we're here and we love her, but like no rush.
I feel that. I mean, it's also kind of on her if she's going to be posting memes of her listening to R9 and not sharing with anyone else.
True. But I also really respect that route.
Yeah, true. So getting into it, I feel like this last year has just been crazy for you. So I saw in an interview with Pigeons and Planes, you were talking about how just last year you were living with your parents, post grad NYU, and trying to figure out how to get into music. Like, what clicked? Like, what did you do? How'd you do it?
Um, yeah, that feels like so long ago, but it was also like a month ago. I don't know that there was any like one specific moment where it all like came together, but I think like So like I finished school and I was working part-time and just trying to do music as much as I could in my free time. And was just like in sessions with people I knew and like writing songs with friends. And I think it was, I mean, that's why I put it out first, but I think it was the one for me. When I finally finished that song, I was just like, this is something that I'm ready to share with the world immediately. And I don't think I had felt that before with any of the songs that I had written, where I was like 100% sure. um, so I think like once I finished writing that, for the most part it was like that moment for me where I was like willing to get started. But it was really also just like finding my manager, like starting to build up my team, and like spending more time in LA, because as much as I hate to admit it, music is mostly here. But yeah, it was like really not that long before the one came out that it all started to come together.
Damn, well, that's crazy. I mean, that was a really big song, so it makes sense that that was the click you needed or whatever to really blow up. And then you met your boyfriend on the corner of 13th and 16th. Um, correct?
Love it when people close quote the songs.
Yeah. Um, if it's not too personal, I would love to hear how you guys met, or if it is too personal, you don't have to answer, and I can move on to the next question.
Um, no, it's okay. I I feel like I don't have the right to be like that's private because I wrote a whole EP on it. Um, but we actually met at a studio not far from there, like right when I was starting music. So it really was within the timeline of this EP. Makes a lot of sense.
That's very cool, and it definitely gave you a lot to write about. And then in February, you dropped the first single, "The One," and you started getting the critical praise from Pigeons and Planes. One to watch. You've wanted to sing for such a long time, like since you were a kid. I've heard since you could walk, whatever. What was it like to start like seeing people acknowledge what you can do?
Yeah, it was the best feeling in the world. Like truly unmatched. I think like obviously there has to be a level of like self-confidence, right? And like to be able to get to where you are and like push yourself to keep going. But they're definitely, especially like before putting out a song, it's like you tell everyone you're a recording artist, but there's really, then everyone's like, oh, where's your music? And you're like, wait, not yet. But like I swear it exists. So like being able to put it out and then have like see it in writing that like these publications that I read, or like where I saw my favorite artists, were like even just acknowledging that it existed made it feel so real for me. And just like I think was like truly when I first realized that I was doing what I loved, like for real.
No, I totally get that. I mean, I can totally imagine you being in a situation where you tell people you're an artist and then you don't have any music to show them, and they're like,
Yeah, they're like, what's your Spotify? I'm like, don't worry about it. I'll get back to you.
but yeah, like congratulations again. That was like such a cool thing to see. I remember when I was first kind of getting on TikTok and I was posting videos about rising artists. Like I kept seeing your name pop up in the comments, and people were like, "Go check her out," and I was like, "All right, I'll go check her out." And I was blown away by the one and other tracks. So very cool. And then the unthinkable happened. COVID hit, and everything you had been working so hard potentially hit some roadblocks. Can you talk about like how things changed after COVID hit with your career?
Yeah, I mean, I like my favorite joke when COVID started was like I chose the wrong year to get my shit together. Because like I truly like I had been like so patient. Like I finished school and I was like, there's no rush to get started, but like once it all comes together, we'll like go full speed. And then we like put out the one and it went so well. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to like get to work. And then it was like, please stay inside and do nothing. And I was like, what? But I had actually just flown to LA when it started and was like, I'm gonna finish the EP and I'm gonna have like as many sessions as possible. I want to meet as many people as possible. Because like the most of the songs on the first EP came together kind of just like over time as like a collection of songs, as opposed to like me in the studio working towards a project intentionally. Um, just because it was like before I was in LA or anything like that. So it was really just like writing with friends and what came together, but I was ready to like be like on a schedule in the studio always, and then obviously couldn't do that. So it was definitely a bit of a throw at first. I didn't know like how to best spend my time or keep working towards, or even just like I had Where Does Love Go, the next single, ready. I had written it like at the start of the year, but it was like, does anyone want to hear this right now? There's so much going
Yeah.
on. But it like weirdly ended up working out. I mean, obviously I'm not happy about anything that's going on, but so many people ended up being separated by COVID that like a long distance project and all of these songs started to make so much more sense to people. Um, so it like weirdly was the perfect time for it all to come together. And like I said, at the end of the day, like I really just had to like write and record, which I could do from home. So it worked out.
Yeah, and that's totally awesome hearing you talk about how, while the album is largely centered around long distance relationships, um, in the world of COVID, even someone in your hometown, from my experience, can feel like they're 100 miles away because it just becomes really hard to meet up with people in a safe way and get to see people. And yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. So came weirdly relatable, but I'm not mad at it.
And kind of on a similar topic, I feel like on social media, you've been a really strong, like, advocate of just like being open and honest about mental health, and you've been honest about how you've struggled with that. Um, what like strategies or techniques, or what did you do? I mean, I imagine COVID was really hard for you, especially with the isolation and everything. Like, how did you cope? How did you get through it?
Um, I mean, my thing is always like I seek people out when I don't feel great. And I know that like the people in my life are like what pull me out of bad moments and stuff like that. So it was definitely a challenge to then be told that you had to stay at home and I couldn't see like most of the people in my life. Um, but I think like it was kind of the same advice I gave whenever I was talking about a long distance relationship, but I think I just had to like work a little harder to make time to like FaceTime and like do whatever I could to like stay in touch. And then just writing music helped. Like before that, like before I was telling anyone about it, that's what I always say. Like I was writing about it, and that's um, why like songwriting became so important to me. But yeah, just like truly just reaching out when I needed to, and writing helped the most.
Well, that's good to hear that you had that outlet. And yeah, I'm happy you kind of got through it, and I'm like super impressed and happy that you talk about what you go through on social media and you're open, because I feel like oftentimes celebrities, artists can get put on this pedestal where everyone just expects them to be happy and perfect all the time, and that's just not the truth a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's this big idea that like when things fall into place for you, at least career wise, everything else is perfect, and that's not necessarily the case. But also, I just like, I know that like before I was talking about it, I was like, no one else is going through this because I didn't know about anyone else going through it. And it's like social media is just such an easy way to share now that like if I can like post about it and then like the response to is always what's most motivating to like keep sharing. Is like I'll always get like a million messages that are like, oh my god, like I had the worst day today and then I saw this and I realized like I'm not the only one, and like that's just what's most important to me.
Well, I'm glad you're getting those comments too, because I think I saw a tweet of yours that, in reaction to opening up on social media about what you were going through, and then you were talking about how a lot of people were messaging you or commenting like, "Oh, you're beautiful, so you don't have to worry about that," or something along those lines. So I'm glad you're getting some honest stuff too.
What I'm saying, like there's this disconnect that like on Instagram, like I don't know, people can't have complicated lives or any issues. So just trying to make that clear that that is not the case.
Well, I'm glad you did. And so you moved to LA in August, or when did you move to LA?
Well, so I've been quarantining here since March, but I was always like planning to go back home. And then it just like became apparent that I was being more productive here and that like my manager, most of my team are here. So I moved end of September into my apartment.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, when I heard you moved to LA during the pandemic, like on my first thought, I was like, wow, I can't imagine moving to a new city during COVID and like leaving every friend and not knowing anyone in the city when no one's meeting each other. And that just sounded really tough to me. So,
Would not recommend. I mean, it was definitely the right choice in terms of like a career move. And
mhm.
I'm definitely here for music primarily, but very, very difficult to be in a brand new city. I mean, I've like been to LA a couple of times, but like then even the things and like people that I do know and like recent and like often go to are obviously all off limits. And LA is so spread out and like not a walking city at all. It's all like so strange to me coming from New York. And I'm just like, what do I do with my time here already? And then everything's closed. It's like, okay, we're gonna hang out at home.
I guess I'll make some music.
Yeah, for real.
But yeah, and then so moving on, in April you released "Where Does the Love Go," and that track was with Yeek, and I was wondering how that song came together and how you met Yeek and everything like that.
Yeah. We followed each other on Instagram for a while, and like obviously loved his music. And we'd like tried to have a session a few times, and then it finally happened September of 2019. And we just like instantly became such good friends. It was like one of the best sessions I've ever had. We're I feel like we are the exact same person. And that was like I think we realized that really quickly and like we were like, okay, so what do we write about? Like we spent most of the session getting to know each other, honestly, the first time. And then like while we were talking, he started the beat for Where Does the Love Go? And we realized we were both in long distance relationships. So we were like, well, that makes the most sense to write about then. And we just like talked about that for a while. And by the end of the session, we had just like spent the whole time talking and we were like, okay, well, we started a song. We'll finish it some other time, but like glad we got to know each other. And then a few weeks later, we had another session, and the song just came really, really quickly. Um, yeah, one of my favorite songs to write.
That's super sick. I mean, yeah, Yeek is awesome, and I mean, you were already gaining traction with the one, but I feel like with smaller artists, when you can collab with a bigger artist, it's like very helpful.
It's weird too because I like had listened to his music for so long, and like then obviously became good friends with him, but I didn't realize like how well he was doing, and then like all his fans transfer over. I was like, wait, are you like low key a superstar? And I didn't know. Crazy.
And then you came out with Distance, which is another great track. And I feel like with Distance, you fully locked in the theme that this was going to be an album about long distance relationships. Did you know from the beginning, like most of these songs are going to be about this kind of one idea or theme, or were you writing it? Okay.
Sorry, I was just thinking. Um, yeah, I think that wasn't my intention, like going in, but like realistically, every time I went to studio, I was like, I'm gonna write about what is currently going on in my life. And that was always like at the front of my mind because I was always dealing with it and like trying to navigate it. But I think Distance was when I like kind of solidified that because the first, it was like the one was just like the first song I really loved, so I put it out, and then like me and Yeek found that in common, so we wrote about it. And then with Distance, it was kind of like when I went into that session, I was thinking like I really love the last two songs, but they feel like they're like romanticizing the long distance a little bit, and I kind of wanted the next one to be like more cathartic. And I was like, okay, I clearly have more to say on the subject, and I kind of then decided that I really wanted to just tell the story from like beginning to end. So Yeah, I think that's when I realized.
Very cool. So you have this theme on this project and a somewhat similar sound that obviously not every track it sounds the same, and they're all amazing. But you've expressed that you are looking for a lasting career. You're here to stay. And you said people who try different things and change up the sound every once in a while are the people that are having those long lasting careers, the Rihannas. So have you started to think where you want to go with the next? I mean, I don't want to be the guy that's like, where's the next album? But I'm just curious if you've thought about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think like the first project has a lot of like the like lo-fi R&B, and like I feel like that like genuinely just came from like recording in bedrooms and like like I feel like the same way they say like bedroom pop is always like the starting point, like it really is that. So I feel like now that I'm like in sessions more often and like completely focused on music, I feel like I have way more time and space to like explore, and I definitely, want to like move on from the first project. So definitely will take it somewhere different.
Well, I'm excited to hear what you come up with whenever it's ready. No pressure. And something else that was really cool that you recently did was you made a video with pigeons and planes. And I thought it was a very interesting video. Did you have your hand in like the creative design or output or theme?
No, I truly just showed up, but um, the director, who's now a good friend, was really, really cool. And like, I think she did a good job of like learning about me before we did it so that it like reflected, I think, like my personality and like the aesthetic that we usually go with. So I had no hand in it, but I do think it was like intentional and well done.
Yeah, no, I was really impressed by it. And what interested me is that going into the video, I was thinking that it would be more interview, and then kind of halfway through, it became a movie or something. So I was curious, like, have you thought about the theme? Do you like? I would love to hear your interpretation of like the symbolism theme, what's going on in that video.
Yeah, yeah, I thought that too. Even as we were doing it, I like sat down for the interview, and then all of a sudden I was acting, and I was like, huh? It was really fun, and I made my acting debut. It was really cool. But I think like the like hazy memory feel that like I try to portray in all the videos like comes through really well in this video too. Um, where it kind of feels like you're like watching me reflect on the relationship. And then I think like the back half is really cool because I don't know, like it really like it's truly me packing a bag and heading out. Is so reflective of the whole project because that's what I was doing most of the time. Um, yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, back and bag makes sense, and yeah, I also just got the vibe that it was like, I've done it, I've made it, I'm packing
Yeah.
a
Yeah, that too, honestly. I did feel it kind of like we did it.
bag. Yeah, so I was very impressed by the video. Something else I've been impressed by is I love watching your covers of other songs, and I think it's very unique that your music taste seems to be pretty genreless, where I see you do videos of Phoebe Bridgers, Casey Musgraves, Billie Eilish. So I would love to hear kind of who you've been listening to, maybe outside of the style of music that you make.
Yeah, I think my covers are pretty reflective of that. I'm obsessed with Phoebe Bridgers, and her last album um, is impeccable. Who else outside of my genre? I mean, I guess I do listen to a lot of R&B. I'm like trying to think of my favorite albums this year, but a lot of like, no, it's yeah, it's pretty all over the place. Like it depends on my mood, but a lot of like that world of like, I don't know what we would describe Phoebe Bridgers as.
Yeah, like indie folk singer songwriter.
Yeah, I just call it my sad music, but there's that world, and then like um a lot of just like more upbeat stuff, I guess, which is a little outside of what I've done. But like in the last week, like all I've listened to, I think, is Ariana Grande and Bad Bunny. So
That's
truly
awesome. Yeah.
musically.
POB, that song was on repeat for a while for me. That was phenomenal. And also something I always like to ask artists is, are there any smaller artists you've been eyeing that you would like to give a shout out to or put people onto, or who I should check out?
I love that. Um, Definitely. Okay, wait. Let me look at my Spotify. It's like when people ask me like what I've been listening to, I swear the second it's asked, I have no idea.
No, I
Um,
totally get that. Especially when people are like, "What's your top 5 artists ever?" And I'm like,
and
"Ah,
then my brain just shuts down.
yeah,
It's also weird because I feel like there are people who I've thought were small artists because like I randomly found them on Spotify and then like I'll like see them like 2 days later in an article and I'm like, oh, not my secret. But
yeah." Or just your peers that you've been really enjoying or think more people should check out.
yeah, I mean, yeah, again, I'm like, who's still small? Like, I don't know, but like, I really love Arlo Parks. She's killing it, and I really love her music. I just started listening to this girl actually. I don't know how you say her name. Uh, Chi Virgo, like CHI Virgo.
I don't think I know her. I'll have to check her out.
Yeek just told me about her. So we were like listening to her music, but she's really good. Oh, I really love Isaiah Huron.
I don't think I know him either. So
Um,
Maria is my new music plug.
Loving You is a Mountain is one of my favorite songs ever. Ever.
Oh
Listen
yeah.
to it, get back to me on that.
All right. Yeah. No, I'll DM you and be like, you were right.
Yes, I was.
Um. Well, great. That was my last question. I was just wondering if you have anything else you'd like to plug, where people can follow you, the album title, anything exciting on that end.
Just, keep up with me. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, just like talking about Rihanna and like posting selfies, things of that nature. And yeah, if you haven't listened to the EP yet, please do and let me know what you think.
Listen to the EP. Maria, thanks for taking the time and talking, and I look forward to keeping up with you.
Amazing. Yeah, thanks for having me.